wetland is a land area that is saturated or inundated with water, such that it takes on the characteristics of a distinct ecosystem. It plays a number of roles in the environment, principally of water purification, flood control, carbon sink, shoreline stability, groundwater recharge, and provisioning food and habitats to numerous organisms. There are many kinds of wetlands: lakes, ponds, marshes, swamps, bogs, fens, intertidal mudflats, and mangroves are some of the well-known examples.
Wetlands are very important ecosystem. As we know that wetlands are mostly treated as wastelands. However, they are known as waterlogged wealths because apart from providing direct benefits and livelihood to the people, they are also serving important purposes of ecological and environmental values.
An international wetland conservation treaty defines wetlands as areas of marsh, fen, peatland or water, whether natural or artificial, permanent or temporary, with water that is static or flowing, fresh, brackish or salt, including areas of marine water, the depth of which at low tide does not exceed 6 meters. Wetlands vary widely due to local and regional differences in topography, hydrology, vegetation and other factors, including human involvement. Wetlands can be divided into two main categories: inland and coastal. Wetland hydrology is associated with the spatial and temporal dispersion of flow and physico-chemical attributes of surface and groundwater. The state of Gujarat is recognized as a wetland-rich state of India with high waterbird diversity and abundance. Nalsarovar wetland shines like a bright gem among various wetlands of Gujarat state, owing to its recognition as the only Ramsar site in the state. Nalsarovar was declared as a Ramsar site in September 2012, the 26th in India and the first in Gujarat. The sanctuary was established in two phases. In the first phase, 115 square kilometer area was declared as a sanctuary.
This Nalsarovar bird sanctuary was declared in 1969 before the enactment of Wildlife Protection Act. This area was declared bird sanctuary in 1969, covering an area of 115 square kilometer, and another 5 square kilometer area was added to it in 1982. Thus the total area of Nalsarovar bird sanctuary is 120 square kilometer.
Right now we are in Nalsarovar. It's a sanctuary. The area is almost 120 square kilometer, of which 10 square kilometer is in Ahmedabad district and the rest is in Surendranagar district. Surendranagar district, it covers Limdi Taluka, whereas in Ahmedabad district it covers Viramgam and Bawla Taluka. Besides this, another 150 to 200 square kilometer is again inundated area during the rainy season. So almost an area of 300 square kilometer is a wetland type area which forms a very good habitat for the birds.
Nalsarovar Bird Sanctuary is spread over semi-arid region of the state. Biogeographically, the wetland is located in Gujarat Rajwada Biotic province of the semi-arid biogeographical zone. The western shore of the lake having the villages like Big Vijaygarh, Mool Bavla, Ranagarh, Bhagwanpur and Nani Kathechi, the northern shore having Shahpur village and eastern shore having villages like Kaila and Vekaria of Viramgam Taluka and Meni and Durgi of Bawla Taluka. The southern shore has Shial village of Bawla Taluka located in central Gujarat region of Gujarat state. As per the National Wetland Atlas 2011 by the Space Application Center ISRO, the area of the Nalsarovar wetland is 147 square kilometers.
This area is very important geomorphologically also. Contains a lot of cultural values, other values giving lot of benefit to the local people apart from sheltering birds in this area.
The basin of Nalsarovar Lake is elongated and undulating and has nearly elliptical configuration in north-south direction. The basin has overall gentle slope running from east to northwest and northwest to south. The basin's depression is very shallow, that is around 1 meter at many places, but maximum depth is 3 meters. Maximum length of the fully inundated lake basin has been 18 km, whereas maximum breadth has been 9 kilometers. The entire land of Nalsarovar and its environs are salt affected, with alkalinity concentrated in the upper layers of clay. The basin is surrounded by sandy to clayey shore land. There are over 300 islets in the Nal wetland, of which 36 are relatively larger islands. Some examples of larger islets are Lhasa, Dharabla, Chorathali, Panvad, Moti Nal, Nani Nal, Mota Chera, Nana Chera, Surbet and Shial. As per one hypothesis, the word Nal has its origin in the local vernacular word Nal, meaning a watercourse or a creek. It is probable that the present-day Nalsarovar and the lower course of the river Bhogavo, having connection with the Gulf of Khambhat, together represent a creek or an arm of the sea of the distant past. It is also likely that in remote past, this creek was connected to the little run of Kutch that gets inundated in monsoon not just by rainwaters but also from the Gulf of Kutch. Evolution of Nalsarovar is considered to have occurred during the late Quaternary period over 3 stages. The mud flats existing on the south of the Nal represent recent sea transgression in the area. The climate of the area of Nalsarovar is arid to semi-arid in nature. During peak summer in May, the temperature rises up to 45 degrees Celsius and it falls below 7 degrees Celsius in peak winter in January. The rainfall is erratic in this area and its annual average value is about 580 millimeter. The rainfall during any one year occurs from June to September, with majority of precipitation occurring in July and August. Along with temperature and rains, wind is also an important climatic factor. In Nalsarovar area, wind velocity is relatively high in summer season, but it rarely exceeds 60 km per hour. Due to high temperature and high wind velocity in summers, rate of evaporation of the lake's water is also high during summer. Water quality is very important factor affecting aquatic biota of the lake. Due to shallowness of the lake, there is negligible variation in water temperature at and under the surface of water, which fluctuates between 21 degrees Celsius and 30 degrees Celsius. The pH of the Nal's waters has been found to be alkaline, though its value might remain almost neutral when rainwater drains into the area. Gir Foundation regularly monitors the water quality and during its past study had found that chloride content in the waters of Nalsarovar increased from post-monsoon season to summer through winter. Highest concentration of chlorides was recorded near Brahmini River in summer. On the contrary, the lowest chloride concentration was recorded in post-monsoon season at Brahmini River. The dissolved oxygen in the waters of Nalsarovar usually remains around 5 parts per million and above, in the range that is known to be suitable for the survival of fish and other aquatic organisms. However, very low value, around 1 part per million of dissolved oxygen has also been recorded at the sites where algal blooms occur and where considerable amount of decomposing emergent and submerged hydrophytes occur. It is found that alkalinity of the Nal's waters remains low in post-monsoon when there is a fresh inflow of water. Total hardness has been found to remain typically high at the junction point of Brahmini River and Nal Lake. Moreover, during any single day, the hardness values are found to increase with increase in day temperature. As far as soil of Nalsarovar is concerned, It was found during a past study of Gir Foundation that soil texture of the bottom sediments was indicative of a typical lacustrine feature, and this clayey part of Nal region causes waterlogging. Presence of hydric soil is one of the most important characteristics of any wetland, and Nalsarovar is no exception, as indicators of hydric soils have been revealed during Gir Foundation's research.
The predominant waterbird habitat is open water area. The open water area is also of two types. At some places the depth does not exceed 2 feet, and that can be considered as shallower open water area. And there are areas having depth more than 2 feet, and that can be called deeper open water areas. The deeper water open areas, they are used by the diving ducks like poachers and the other birds like cormorants and darters and grebes, which use diving as one of their methods for getting their food, which is under water surface. The shallower open water area is used by mainly by surface feeding ducks, the ducks which do not dive for getting their food. These ducks include the shovelers, then gadwal, vision, common teal.
The water surface overall is not open or exposed, as it is covered with the growth of emergent hydrophytes, popularly known as reeds. The emergent hydrophytes include Typha, Pan, Phragmites carca, Bakhedo, species of Cyperaceae family, locally known as Gondro and Dilo. It also has submerged aquatic vegetation under the water surface, which form dense underwater meadows at many places. Submerged aquatic vegetation mainly include plants like Najas and Kara, though other plants like Potamogeton and Vallisneria also exist. The submerged vegetation can grow up to the surface of the open water area. It also leaves dead and decomposing vegetation matter on water surface that is so thick and vast at times that it gives land-like brownish appearance from distance. This habitat provides foraging opportunities mainly to the surface-feeding swimmers, common teal, cotton teals, northern shoveler, etc., and large waders like flamingos, spoonbill, egrets and herons, and storks, etc. It may, however, be noted that several species of ducks and other swimmers use both deeper water and shallower water areas as per food availability. In the areas of the lake where the emergent hydrophytic cover is extensive and dense, divers, swimmers and some waders preferring open areas cannot occur. However, secretive species like bitterns, rails and crakes, as also birds like swamp hen and glossy ibis find this habitat suitable for fulfilling their food and cover requirements. Swallows and martins occur in plenty in this habitat, and some other passerines like warblers and wagtails can also occur in this habitat in good numbers. There is also muddy habitat which forms in shallow zone of the lake basin due to evaporation or receding of shallow open waters, hence preferred by small waders or shorebirds like snipes, stins, sandpipers, wagtails, etc. Islands, locally called bait, are the speciality of Nalsarovar, as no inland wetland in the state has islands as high in number as that in Nalsarovar. There are over 300 small to moderate-sized, slightly elevated plateaus in the Nal's basin, many of which get transformed into islands depending on the size of the islands and level of water accumulated in the basin. Core areas of islands provide habitat to terrestrial birds and other terrestrial fauna, and their edges, shared with open waters, are used by water birds like ducks, coots, terns, gulls, etc. for resting and roosting, and waders for foraging, resting and roosting. The transitional area between edge of an island and shallow open water surrounding it also provides good foraging habitat for surface-feeding swimming waterbirds like surface-feeding ducks, pelicans, etc. In fact, islands amidst the open water creates good edge effect for wild waterbirds. where they get best of both worlds, that is, food in shallow water surrounding islands and land for resting and roosting at the edge of the islands. Several islands have good emergent hydrophytic cover on the edges, which enhances the edge effect by facilitating cover or hideouts for small waders, swamp hens, moor hens, warblers, pipits, etc. Shoreland. The shorelands are the areas on the periphery and are also sandy or salt encrusted, hence favored by migratory cranes and pelicans for resting and roosting. It is also used by terrestrial birds like larks, partridges and sand grouses.
More than 250 species of birds recorded in this area, out of which about 150 species are water birds, and among water birds also more than 50 species are migratory water birds. So this is very important bird sanctuary. The major period of migration is during October to February.
There are numerous village ponds and other types of man-made wetlands scattered over the landscape surrounding Nalsarovar wetland. They can be called satellite wetlands, as water birds that use Nalsarovar for resting, roosting can use ponds, dams or waterlogged areas in the villages of the periphery for foraging and vice versa. Examples of satellite wetlands include those in Kaliveji village of Bavla Taluka, Vekaria village of Viramgam Taluka and Vittalgarh, Bhaskarpura and Vadala villages of Lakhtar Taluka. Nalsarovar has a variety of communities settled around the premises. Amongst the 15-odd villages around, there are many primitive communities who reside since many years now. Depend on the premises for fishing, cattle, agriculture, economic and tourist recreational activities like restaurants, guides, etc. Ecotourism has been developed, which is meant to be for educative, economic and ecological reasons, keeping in mind the conservatory and protective activities of the site and surroundings. Along with the constant monitoring of overall development, cleanliness and quality maintenance, there are measures being taken as well regarding the influence of Narmada water into the site. Nalsarovar is legally protected as a bird sanctuary since 1969. Gujarat Forest Department strives at its best for the protection of this natural wetland ecosystem that has acquired a status of a Ramsar site in 2012. However, like many other sanctuaries in the country, Nalsarovar Bird Sanctuary is surrounded by several villages inhabited by local communities. Local communities inhabiting the surrounding areas cannot be completely stopped from their ancient practices, traditions of using natural resources available for their livelihood needs. Nalsarovar Bird Sanctuary that protects a natural freshwater wetland ecosystem is no exception. Often sustainable dependencies of local communities contribute in maintaining ecological balance too, and therefore it is not advisable to ban the dependencies altogether, especially if an ecosystem has got a status of Ramsar site. However, the ecosystem like Nalsarovar can face potential threats if the natural resource utilization or livelihood practices take place unsustainably and in a short-sighted manner despite multiple conservation efforts done by the authorities like Gujarat Forest Department. Despite conservation and management efforts by the Gujarat Forest Department, Nalsarovar wetland ecosystem can face potential threats if activities like livestock grazing, fishing, irrigation using Nal's water, fodder harvesting and food collection and boating for local transport and tourism are carried out in an unsustainable and short-sighted manner. Local tourists having short-sighted and careless attitude also harm this natural wetland ecosystem that has gained designation as a wetland of international importance. Gir Foundation had organized a one-day wetland seminar cum 4-day wetland techniques workshop from 12/12/2016 to 16/12/2016. On the first day, that is on 12/12/2016, There were around 10 presentations by national and international wetland experts from reputed organizations, universities like Indian Institute of Sciences, Bangalore, Bombay Natural History Society, Mumbai, Wetlands International, New Delhi, IIT Kharagpur, Space Application Center, Ahmedabad and West Virginia University, USA. The presentations covered varied critical topics pertaining to wetland ecosystems. The remaining 4 days, that is, from the 13th to the 16th of December 2016, were dedicated to training workshop mainly at Nalsarovar, Ramsar site. In this workshop, an international wetland expert, Professor James T. Anderson of West Virginia University, USA, a co-editor of 3-volume Wetland Techniques by Springer Publication, gave practical in situ field training covering various wetland techniques like wetland hydrology, wetland rapid assessment, wetland vegetation, wetland macroinvertebrate sampling, wetland restoration, etc. Participants included postgraduate students of major state universities of Gujarat, researchers from Gir Foundation and other state government affiliated research organizations, for example GSBTM, GBB, GPCB, etc., and front-level staff of Gujarat Forest Department. A total of over 100 participants took part in training at Nalsarovar from the 14th to the 16th. Whereas on the first day, that is, on the day of the seminar on 12/12/2016, 165 participants took part.
This beautiful Ramsar site. So we obviously know it's extremely important for a diversity of water birds, as we can see in the background, and it's important wintering grounds. In addition to the biodiversity aspects, we think about wetlands in terms of improving water quality as well as increasing groundwater retention. There's lots of benefits, I think, for local inhabitants as well, as they get to use the resources of this beautiful location.
Nalsarovar is a Ramsar site. It's a wetland of international importance. And as an international site, the commitment of the central government as well as the state government is to ensure wise use. Wise use is about maintaining ecological character of the site, which is about ensuring that ecological components, processes and the benefits humans receive from wetlands are not altered adversely. This would mean that any induced change which goes against the ecological character of the site, be it its plants and animal life, be it its inundation regime, hydrological regime, that should not change beyond a given threshold.
The entire wetland ecosystem of Nalsarovar is not just an abode for birds. The society needs to understand, and we must stress upon the fact that it is a rendezvous point for fish, reptiles, mammals, aquatic plants, plankton, amphibians, etc. Thus, it is a very important site in the entire chain of the wetland ecosystem of the state. While its importance for the aquatic life cannot be underestimated, it is also important to note that Nalsarovar is very important lifeline for local communities such as Koli, Siddhi and Padhar. These communities depend on the Nalsarovar lake and surrounding areas for their entire livelihood. An important irrigation source also for them for their agricultural fields and cropping systems. Hence, Nalsarovar is an important link in the man and wetland life, the bird ecosystem of Gujarat. The local communities play a very keen and important role in the preservation of this wetland system of Gujarat. They feel they are a part of it, and that the Nalsarovar is a part of them. Apart from being the most important asset for birds and aquatic life in Gujarat, Nalsarovar, as I said, also supports a large number of local communities. That apart, it is a very important place and site for tourists, mainly for promoting ecotourism in the state. Large number of tourists come here for rest, recreation, to enjoy the placid waters, and also who are interested in the wildlife and ecology pay visit here quite regularly. Apart from the tourists, the students, whether they are school students, college students, nature students, university students, in the government we organize short-term programs also for them, nature education camps, so that the students can learn more about this unique wetland ecosystem and can feel to be a part of it. They can enhance their knowledge and they can also enjoy in the area there. The state government is committed to preserve and develop the unique ecosystem and the eco asset that Gujarat has by way of Nalsarovar. I invite all citizens, students and stakeholders to be a part of this development of Nalsarovar.
Nalsarovar is undoubtedly very popular as a magnificent bird abode. However, people often forget that it is much more than that. Therefore, the Nal deserves recognition among various sections of the society as a multifaceted entity in the landscape that provides multiple ecosystem services. On one hand, with or without birds, it renders beauty to this otherwise dry, semi-arid landscape. Moreover, besides birds, it provides habitat to hydrophytes, numerous fish, macroinvertebrates, which people often miss to notice. Nalsarovar directly supports livelihood of local communities, either through ecotourism, fishing, agriculture and animal husbandry. And above all, it makes the very living of people in the environs possible due to maintenance of groundwater table, flood buffering, drought buffering and natural resource provisioning. Nalsarovar has special place in wetland scenario of the state, considering that it is one of the very few inland natural lakes in the state having unique genesis. It has a vast area. It has some unique landscape features like hundreds of islets amidst open water area. It has a linkage with Gulf of Cambay, and it is life supporting system for thousands of people living on its periphery since hundreds of years. And this is the reason why it has got recognition as the only wetland of international importance or Ramsar site in Gujarat state. Henry David Thoreau said, "A lake is a landscape's most beautiful and expressive feature." How true he is in the context of Nalsarovar.